incredibly exciting space, and I'm sure that Taj, who will come up now as the moderator of the panel, will tell you much more about that. Taj, come up, partner at Prism Ventures. Also, Prism Ventures, let me just say a few words. Like, Taj has such a great mind when it comes to investing in the funds that are doing stuff in TechBio. So anyone here interested in that, go to Taj. Let me bring up the next one, Johan Christenson, MD and PhD partner at HealthCap. More than 100 investments, built more than 100 firms, companies, 45 IPOs, and 30 FDA-approved drugs delivering breakthrough science to our bodies. Incredible. And let's bring up Max from IQ Capital. Max shared last night that he has now fully divested the first fund. Max is not as young as I am, so he is also more than 20 years in with IQ Capital. And you're now wielding more than 200 million across multiple funds with more than 200 million. So an incredible firm, IQ Capital. You cannot get to anyone that are more seasoned when it comes to investing in deep tech than the team at IQ. 500,000 up to 10 million tickets. So quite a range, quite an incredible team. And then you have a growth fund that does up to 30, am I right? Yep. What a team. He will say more later. Normally you can't shut him up. Then we have Marko, please come on. Marko, partner at Innovestor Life Sciences. I know your firm less well, so maybe Taj will do your such a kind intro that I can't.
Thank you very much. And thanks for that kind introduction of a panel of old men. That doesn't feel good. So the topic of this panel is TechBio, opportunities at the intersection of technology and biology. And I'm incredibly lucky to have almost the perfect panel to discuss this. I'm going to, if they don't mind me, pigeonhole them a little bit. So I have Johan Christenson, managing partner at HealthCap, a long-established, as we were just discussing, about 30 years established, traditional biotech investor here in Sweden, with offices in Switzerland, with very much a precision medicine approach. So if there was a technology, a TechBio-focused way for a traditional biotech investor to look at the space, it is from a precision medicine perspective, I would think. And Johan has a long career in the space, has had senior positions at AstraZeneca, also at SEB, and was a director at the Karolinska Institute, and is a formally trained neuroscientist. Max, I know very well. Max is a managing partner at IQ Capital. As we were just mentioning, he co-founded the firm, and IQ are really seen as one of the reference investors in Europe when it comes to deep learning technologies. They were in it before it became cool, let's put it that way. And Max has held senior roles across industry and is on the board of Invest Europe. Finally, Marko is a partner at Innovestor, a Finnish-based VC who investing out of Fund 2, I believe, and also an accelerator program. And you have had a focus in medtech, health tech, and digital tech. And so what we have in the panel is really the perfect group to discuss this topic: a traditionalist investor within the space, a deep learning investor, and somewhere a hybrid in between. So we are at what many refer to as the golden age of biotechnology. We've seen a huge acceleration over the last 2 decades in both therapeutic modalities, as well as the introduction of highly focused technological approaches within the space. Bioinformatics and AI are nothing new to life sciences and healthcare, but the potential for those technologies in the space, there really is no better use case in terms of volumes of data, complexity of data, and the potential impact of these technologies. But the difficulty is in the implementation. We have a very traditional sector with very traditional ways of doing things that looks in terms of drug development and other therapy developments in a very structured way, and it's not easy to then change that with technology. However, what we've seen over the last year is the Nobel Prize has gone to the guys at DeepMind, Demis Habbassis, John Jumper, and that's really the Nobel Prize signaling we should be thinking about things differently. So I'd love to get the panel's view on the current state of play of TechBio. A term, is it a real thing? Is it too controversial? Is it a term? Are we really just talking about the application of deep learning technologies to traditional biotech? How do you think about that in each of your firms? And maybe I'll start with you, Johan.
Well, thank you, and thanks for inviting me. Although it was a short notice, I jumped into this panel. I'm very happy to be here. So I would maybe start from, as you can see from my face, I've been around for quite a number of years. So it's been ups and downs from a number of perspectives, but also a number of different kind of buzzwords been circling around, different areas for what we have looked for to invest in. And if we then take the kind of TechBio view and look back a little bit, to me it's not so important if we call it TechBio or if we call it health tech or whatever we call it. For me, it's really about the big promise that I see now going forward is biology meets technology, and where we clearly see the convergence of technology coming into biology, and biology meaning then drug discovery, drug development, but I would take it even further than just being a tool for kind of manufacturing or drug discovery. To me, it moves all the way to looking at the whole health care, health tech space. So these technologies will have an impact throughout the full life science cycle, be it from early identification of new targets, drug discovery, all the way up to patient treatments, follow-up of patients, and then back to prevention. So for me, TechBio is much, much broader than maybe what it was when we first implemented the word. So, I mean, that's starting with that as my view on it.
Super. Max?
Maybe just kind of continuing with that, I think if we're focusing on the part of the healthcare and biotech, which is the biggest application, which is drug discovery, where the impact is the biggest. What I think we've been seeing is the gradual transition of these tech tools that were introduced with a degree of enthusiasm maybe 10, 15 years ago, where it seemed that AI could make a dramatic difference in finding more compounds and better structures and so on. And yet we have seen comparatively little coming out of that. Last year, I think it was around only a dozen AI-generated drugs that entered the clinic. It's starting to change more and more rapidly, but I think broadly speaking, there maybe were three phases of how the new computational methods were starting to affect the drug discovery process, and it sort of started with some parallels, some interesting parallels in the IT industry as well, actually. But in life sciences, we sort of see the three phases where first it was just the tools that were used for parts of the drug discovery process and largely seen as tools by the life science industry, and then gradually moving towards companies that are fully integrated, but essentially drug discovery companies with a bit of AI bolted on the front of the drug discovery process, to now starting to see companies that are genuinely trying to become platforms which do not do the drug development and the clinical processes, but just do focus on the bits that happened before that and do that successfully in partnerships. I think the jury is still very much out there whether that happens the way that people see it, but that's where we're observing transition.
Sure, and I just continue on that. I think that I'm not too fond of terms either, but I do think that we need to think about this from a sort of three-tiered perspective, three layers, if you will. We have sort of the infrastructure layer, That's pretty much our, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to having that in place, like the infrastructure that enables us to do different things that we couldn't do before. Then we have sort of the foundational model layer, and then on top, on the third, we have the application layer. And to me, sort of TechBio is, the way I view it is pretty much it's an application here, it's an application there. We're talking about having AI developed drugs. There's no such thing as an AI developed drug. There are drugs where the sort of parts of the drug discovery and development process may have been automated or may have been done by AI, but it still has been, and I think it will be pretty much the same in terms of the process itself to bring a new drug to the market. I don't think that's going to change for a while. I would love to see regulators say that, okay, because we have such a high trust now on the predictions done by AI on your molecule that, skip phase 1, skip phase 2, go directly to phase 3, do a small one, and sort of really expedite that. We're far from that, I feel, but I really think that what we're witnessing today is a tectonic shift. We're going to see much more. We have good examples. We've got sort of companies that are doing very well, companies that are not doing quite well, and I think it's not a question of first to market with AI developed drugs, if you will. It's sort of first to trust, and it's first to demonstrate evidence that using AI as a tool for now actually increases the quality, increases the success rate, decreases time to market. And honestly, I don't think that we've sort of seen that yet, but I believe that we will over the coming couple of years.
Super, thank you. So clearly, from that discussion, terminology is imperfect, and it's an attempt to capture the application of new technologies to this vast, broad space that is life sciences and healthcare. And maybe touching on that, maybe to crystallize it, because it is such a broad term and such a broad discussion, to crystallize that for the audience's mind, I would love to invite each of you to maybe give an example from your portfolio companies, just one, given the time, that kind of is groundbreaking technology that is in this intersection space, and that you think is particularly exciting and exemplifies what's going on here. Marko, maybe if we start at your end this time.
Sure, I'll start with one example from our own portfolio, which actually doesn't yet touch on drug development or drug discovery, but actually marketed drugs. A company that's using causal AI. Well, causal AI is obviously a brand name, but causal AI as their foundational model that they're training forward to predict the likelihood of dropping out of oral anti-cancer medication. So that's like a very, very, I would say, a very tangible example in terms of doing something that sort of the human mind alone couldn't do, sort of uncovering causal relationships between data that is known and events that are predicted to happen in the future, and sort of try to keep those patients on their effective therapies better. That's sort of one example, but obviously, I mean, you probably want to touch more about on the sort of drug development, drug discovery part.
Max, why don't you go next?
Well, we've been coming at it from more of the kind of technology, new materials, automated systems, robotics, so tools, picks and shovels, if you will, for many applications. But we have invested in several computational biology or drug discovery companies empowered by AI. And the most exciting one in my book is a business called Trogenics out of Edinburgh that has discovered a new gene-driven mechanism, a gene therapy for cancer, which is super effective against some of the most aggressive cancers and solves the issue of mutation of cancers and uses a lot of the tools that have already been established, super effective, huge promises. And that's where, in the broader context, I don't know if it's a bit science fiction, but some people are already talking about these tools, especially with more specialization of AI models and also the kind of super computational happening in this space. How long does it take before a lot of the disease that we know will actually be solved? And these are the early signs that maybe I'm too excited about it, but it's so great to see that there's more and more work happening where you can see very substantial health problems being solved in in near-term time horizon, 10 to 15 years rather than more like 30.
Yeah, I will probably take it from a little bit different angle, maybe again.
Please.
So rather than pinpointing one technology that is kind of groundbreaking, it's more to look at a company where we start actually with clinical data, where we have collected patient data, and how can we actually use that data. And the beauty here is that we now have a collaboration with an AI company that is digging through this patient data. And adding to this, and that's the kind of vision here for this company, is not to be there just by itself, continuing doing what it has been doing. It's really to add new technologies with a long-term vision to, with this patient data, not only to find better way to screen patients in order to find the right treatment for patients, but it is to use these tools, add on biomarker analysis at all the levels that you can find, add that to the AI, which is based on actually true validated patient data, which will add on to the whole path for these patient groups, all the way to treatments, and have remote patient contact, which is then add on to the original technology. And thereby, with the long-term vision, is to secure that you can screen patients using AI tools, using screening tools, which is genetic analysis and what have you, to actually secure that you have a fulfilled patient journey that long-term will also be prevention. I mentioned it already from the start, because I do believe that TechBio is really the emergence, for the first time, I would argue, that we open up for a multidisciplinary, cross-functional approach to diseases and biology. So that company is just an example rather than a specific technology, where we add new technologies together to actually form something which is completely novel. But I would argue this is modern healthcare.
Fantastic. And I think that range of companies and answers gives you a sense of the exciting times we're in and how traditional tech VC and biopharma VC are coming together in this confluence. Do we have time for one more question? Great, fantastic. Well, listen, maybe the last point, let's just discuss for a moment the challenges in the space. So some of the high-profile poster childs within the space, so for example, Dundee-based Exscientia, Benevolent AI in the UK, extremely high-profile, extremely well-funded, algorithmic-based technologies initially, all gradually got pulled into developing their own pipeline of clinical assets, all struggled with that concept given the volumes of capital required and the cultural differences and the knowledge differences versus a deep tech company. Exscientia was acquired by Recursion Pharmaceuticals, its own share price sitting at around $7 a share from a significant high a number of years ago. And so my question to you is, are the public and private markets thinking about these technologies the right way? Or are we, in a sort of schizophrenic manner, pulling these companies in too many different directions, trying to make them into the new generation of deep learning technologies in TechBio, but also trying to make them look and sound like traditional biotech companies in order to translate that into value? So just want to get the panel's sense of that. Max, maybe we'll start with you.
Look, I mean, if we look at the fundamentals of this space, and that is capital intensity and length of product to market, I guess one should be starting there with saying, look, it's not an easy question to solve, and we see similar things in quantum computing or fusion or some of these other deep tech directions or sectors where similar characteristics are present. So it's not hugely surprising that these models are taking time, and we have seen certain corrections and hype cycles, and it's not yet fully solved. One thing that I'm seeing, which is kind of clear intersection, is that the tech investors coming into life sciences are looking at it from the kind of software or AI-driven platform technology, and the kind of you build a platform and the validation is when it starts to work, whereas the life science industry looks at it completely differently, and it's all about progress of your drug candidates and at various stages and technical milestones linked to specific candidates. So maybe we will see an emergence of valuation methods that link the two. We need to solve the issue of depth of capital, so connected. In the traditional biotech, the interactions with pharma have shifted to earlier stages. There's more public capital coming in, at least for a while. Can it be extended into this particular spaces? Education of public market investors where there's a complete specialization. People investing in AI and GPUs and NVIDIAs of this world are not thinking about life sciences very much, and vice versa. So those are some of the challenges that I think we have to solve.
Super. Marko, if I briefly go to you.
Sure. In terms of 10 seconds. So are public and private markets looking at it the right way? I don't think so. The public market is probably looking for tangible results, which we don't have yet, to be honest. I think there was a research article last year which basically concluded that in phase 1 there was a slightly higher chance of success if the drug was developed, by one way or the other by AI. In phase 2, we didn't see any notable difference, and I think that's sort of from a public market perspective. But otherwise, I think that there is a huge promise. I just wanted to add that I think that it's from an investor's perspective, we need to understand is the company, what is sort of the model, the business model that they're going for? Are they going to be a biotech company, which is very logical, or are they going to be a tech company? And we see both. We see in silico medicine on the other end. We see Aukins and Cradles and the others on the very tech end. Very different business models, very different scalability and risk profiles. And I think we just all need to be clear in terms of which kind of a company are we building.
Super. I think we're going to get killed if we don't come off stage, so I apologize for not giving you a little bit of time. Thank you again to my fantastic panel. The debate rages on.